Welcome to the Two Man Advantage podcast. I'm Nick Diesel along with Kevin McShann, and tonight we're going to talk Toronto Raptors basketball. They have a big game at home tomorrow night, Game 5. The series being tied at 2-2. 83% of the time, the team that wins Game 5 wins the series. Kevin McShann, welcome aboard.
Happy to be here this evening, Nick. Always great to see you.
All right, so let's get right to it. Let's hit on DeMar DeRozan. Is he coming into his own? Back-to-back games with 30-plus points. In Game 1, it seemed like there was a little bit of jitters there, and he wasn't finding his stride. He seems to be finding his stride now, very aggressive going to the hole. He leads the league in foul shot attempts. Is he the key for the Raptors moving forward?
Well, in terms of winning the series, absolutely. He's the best player that the Raptors have from a talent perspective. And when he plays well, the Raptors win. And when he doesn't, they struggle to score. Important for him to be a scoring leader in order for the Raptors to be successful, especially against a veteran-laden team like Brooklyn.
Now, is the Toronto Raptors come out better in Game 5 at home, not as bad as they did in Game 1. Seemed like they have a little jitters in the first half in Game 1. Do they kind of weather that storm, and does playoff experience really matter at this point anymore?
Well, I think they're growing up before our eyes. Obviously, the Raptors are a younger team, with this being their first real playoff experience in over a decade. So I think initially it was jitters, but as you get into a playoff series, obviously, you learn and you grow and you learn an opponent. At this point now, it's just about breaking the other team's tendencies because each team knows what the other does at this point, right? So it's just about breaking tendencies and coming up with a game plan to stop the veteran-laden Nets team.
Now, if the Raps lose this game at home, can they go into Brooklyn and win a second game on the road in this series to bring it back to Toronto in Game 7?
I don't think so. I think that Game 5 is a pivotal game, particularly for the Raptors because of their lack of playoff experience. I think it's important that the Raptors get off to a fast start, find a way to keep the sustainable energy through the game, and it's important for them because of the team they're playing, because Brooklyn, if they win, they have a safe haven at home, and for the Raptors, while they did win in Game 4 in Brooklyn, asking a younger team to do that twice is a difficult proposition.
Now, Valanciunas, I would like to hit on him. He's gotten 3 straight double-doubles, and he seems to kind of be growing in front of our eyes. He's very good on the board. He seems to be controlling the rebounds and the possession, especially since Toronto's had issues with the turnovers. How good can Valanciunas be for the Toronto Raptors? He seems to be very, very athletic. He can move around. He can set screens. And he's also a force down low. So how good can this guy be?
Well, in terms of Valanciunas, he's been working hard with head coach Dwayne Casey to sort of define his game in the paint during this series. He's obviously becoming the Raptors' go-to man down low in the paint. And in order for him and the team to be successful, he needs to be a reliable second scoring option if they're going to win this series against Brooklyn and moving forward. Let me just say that whoever wins this series will play the Miami Heat in round number 2. And I think if the Raptors do advance, they could give Miami some trouble based off their athletic ability. Miami's more of a stationary team outside of the big three.
Lowry's got a knee injury. Kyle Lowry seems to be the straw that stirs the drink. He runs that offense very, very well. He has a knee injury. You've seen him last game in Brooklyn, Game 4, on the floor during the intermission, and they're working on that knee. He seemed to be in a lot of pain. If he cannot go, if he gets worse and worse throughout the series, is that trouble for the Raptors?
Well, I think he is, from an offensive standpoint, sort of the stabilizer of the team, sort of the point forward or the point of their offense running through him. So I think it's important that the orchestrator of their offense stays healthy and on the court. But certainly, if I was a Raptors fan, I'd be concerned about that injury and how it'll affect the team moving forward, and then if they advance to the second round of the playoffs.
This is the point we said at the top of the podcast. 83% of the teams that win Game 5 win the series. Is this where KG and Paul Pierce take over and kind of put the young Raptors away?
Well, I think Brooklyn certainly has a veteran advantage because of their vast playoff experience. Between Kevin Garnett, Joe Johnson, and Paul Pierce, they've played in over 200 playoff games in their career, so they have the mental energy to draw back on how to win a highly competitive Tide series. So I do think it's important for the Raptors to win at home.
Now, Amir Johnson, I wanted to hit on him before on the way out.
The former Piston, yeah.
He seems to kind of found his stride in Toronto coming off the bench, and he's really playing well, and he's also dominant, pulling some of those rebounds down. Like we said, if you want to keep the ball in KG and Paul Pierce's hands, you need to get those rebounds, even on the offensive side of the ball. Do you think he can help the Raptors down the road in this series? If it's not 5, is it Game 6, or is it possibly Game 7?
Well, I think Amir Johnson is an important piece from this perspective. Obviously, he's been in the league 9 years, but he's only 26, so I think he's an important young piece that the Raptors can certainly build around. They extended his contract recently, so hopefully they have faith in him that he'll be a successful contributor down the road. But for this particular playoff series, again, I think any consistent secondary reliable option the Raptors can get outside of DeMar DeRozan is certainly a good thing, and I think Amir Johnson can fill that role, particularly because of his athleticism and his ability to block shots.
This is crunch time. The noose is getting tighter on the series, and there's already been cause for concern of the refereeing in the series from both aspects of it. Is it worry fans and worry owners and worry players that they could control the outcome of the series or many series in the NBA playoffs?
Well, there are already been concerns throughout the league about the officiating. Certainly, when you look back on another series in Game 1 of the LA and Golden State series, it was a problem. So I think officiating, now officials are human, so they are going to make mistakes, but you can see it certainly in this playoff series. It's certainly been a glaring concern for both teams, and something I think the league will have to look at when the playoffs are over, because each official, of course, gets graded on their performance. As the playoffs continue, the officiating gets a lot better than what it is.
Tell me, does the Raptors win this series? They've won into Brooklyn now. They've won a big road game to take control at home, have that home court advantage, something they played for all year. Who is going to win this series? Who is going to win Game 5?
I still like the veteran experience of the Nets, although certainly for Canada to expand the conversation about basketball and sort of get away from hockey, since there aren't any Maple Leafs playoff games. Sorry there, bud. But certainly need to expand the conversation about basketball within Canada, a predominantly American sport. So I think the more success the Raptors can have, the better it is for Canadian basketball. But if you're asking me, do I think they'll win this series? The answer, unfortunately, for Raptors fans and anyone following Canadian basketball is no from my perspective.
I think the Raptors will get it under control in Game 5. They won't have the jitters that they did in Game 1. They've shown that they can go into Brooklyn and win. They're a young, athletic team with a big man that is very athletic that can pull down a lot of rebounds. He showed to control the game at some points. I say the Raptors go at home and they win the game in Game 5, and they go into Brooklyn and end the series.
And win Game 6?
And that's my whole prediction for the two-man advantage.
They win Game 5. If they win Game 5, then I'll sort of sway over to your bandwagon, but it all depends on what happens tomorrow night. Certainly the crowd energy will help the Raptors early on, and we'll see if they can sustain the effort throughout the 4 quarters of the game.
For the Two Man Advantage, I'm Nick Diesel along with
Kevin McShann.
And we'll catch you next time.